maxes, and helping the site. It was the first one we came to. It was really ideal for what we were doing. I laid the area out and then designed this fence up. Designed the design of the fence to funnel everybody together so we could get good sound to them. And then made sure that they were tall enough to get into there were low spots in the back of the audience. So we had a cover for them and then go back and build it. Because they're all special speakers that were to contain the sound a great distance away. And did the master recording, and that's basically what I did. And then Lee Osborne did the mix downs with Eddie Freeman's assistance. Thank you.
I can't remember anything. No. Got to start with how I got there. It's really interesting. We rented a van on Long Island, and 9 of us, and we were driving, and then we got in this big crowd, and we were starting to run out of gas. And in fact, we did run out of gas on this country road, and we had no idea where we were, but we were sort of at the top of the hill. State trooper on horseback realized what had happened. He said, "You can't leave it here." And we sort of rolled with the momentum, down to the bottom of the hill, and looked to our left, and there was the stage, right, because we were blocked by a clump of trees. So I was parked directly behind the stage, and all I had to do was get out of the car and walk to the front and sit down in the perfect, best seats in the house. So that's just to begin with. One more story.
I'm completely perplexed what the hell I'm doing here. But I gotta say, it's a pleasure to be the youngest person on a panel. It's been a while. I'm 50. The sad part being, of course, I wasn't there in the all-time you had to be there moment of the 1960s. Yeah, I guess I'm here because I've done a history of that period, and
Recorded it.
I'm going to stay with that.
Go ahead.
Youngest guy, huh? I covered Woodstock for radio. It was very exciting. It was one of my first assignments in radio. I was 19 years old when I first got my first job. And was backstage with everyone. It was amazing. You think about it as a 19-year-old kid and seeing all these people, and then later realizing the people that you were hanging out with and doing drugs with. No. Actually, I was pretty straight through the whole thing. I had one little experience with Alvin Lee in 10 years after, but I had some good stories and a lot of fun. And I remember most of it, and that's a good thing. People say if you remember Woodstock, you weren't there, but I really was there because I had to stay straight for radio, and it's always been my life story that you shouldn't drink or do drugs if you're doing it as a living. So that's the way I've been. So there you go.
Well, I'm Susan Reynolds.
She's a drug addict. Her and I did some kinky stuff up on the hill. So.
He wasn't supposed to tell. Anyway, I was one of the youngest people at Woodstock. I'm not going to say precisely how young, but and I did not do drugs. I didn't even smoke anything, although the air was so redolent with smoke that it didn't matter. I had a contact high that was pretty groovy. And I wrote the book. I gathered 50 stories from people who went to Woodstock. The kids on the ground is what I wanted. And it chronicles kind of what was happening in America in 1969, their journey at the festival, and then their reflection 40 years later. It was just fascinating to see how much it really did affect people's lives and how deeply people still wanted to tell those stories 40 years later. So hopefully I'll get to tell you a few more.
My band is Sha Na Na, and we started in 1969 at Columbia University in about April. So our 8th professional gig was Woodstock, and we were a completely unknown band. We got hired by Michael Lang, Artie Kornfeld. The last night, the infamous Steve Paul scene in Hell's Kitchen was open. It was a big rock and roll hangout. That's where I met Hendrix, and Joplin, and Frank Zappa, and that last night, when some local mafia guys were leaning on the club for protection, they had enough of it and they closed the show down, but that's where we got invited to be at Woodstock. So we made it. I hung out there for 3 days like anybody else. We kept getting bumped because we were an unknown act. But finally, Monday morning at 8 o'clock, before Hendrix went on at 9 o'clock, we did a 35-minute set, and At the Hop made the movie. So it was pretty fortunate, and we're very grateful to have been there and to be captured on the film of the greatest concert ever.
And you got to see Jimmy.
Yes, and I heard Jimi Hendrix.
My name is Lenny Eisenberg. I'm from the area, and I was actually doing college radio the summer of '69 at Northeastern University, and put an ad in the BAD, or the Phoenix, or the Boston After Dark. Said 2 guys want 2 girls share Woodstock Fair. Right, and I was doing, sometimes your mind gets distorted about what really happened, but I thought I was doing 12 to 3, which is a pretty good spot, but I think it was actually 3 to 6 or something, or 2 to 5. And so I gave the people the number to get in touch with me, and like one person, this one couple, these people called, we went to the fair with these strangers, and then when the festival started getting closer and closer, all of a sudden I started getting dozens and dozens and dozens of calls that people wanted to go to the festival. But I was a Jimi Hendrix nut. I had seen Hendrix at the Carousel in Framingham in '68, and then Boston Garden in '69. In '68, November of '68. One was August and November, and then when I went to Woodstock, I had very little film. I had a really nice Nickermat camera with an old lens, but I had very little film, and you can see there's a picture on the left over there, one of the pictures I took that day, because I saved my film. But the thing was that it was Hendrix was supposed to come on at midnight in a way, midnight Sunday night, which was the 17th. But everybody else kept, something else happened, something else happened, something else happened. So here it is at 6 a.m. on the 18th, and I'm there just to shoot Hendrix. I had 1 roll of film left, and I was thinking maybe he's not going to show up. And the Paul Butterfield Blues Band came on. I thought that was so cool, you know. But I still thought, gee, I'd rather see Jimmy right the second. And so who follows the Paul Butterfield Blues Band? But this gentleman right here came on, and we had never seen guys wearing gold jumpsuits and doing this gig. It was like so weird. And we're saying, oh my God, this isn't, you know. And so, but they really, really did such an incredible job. They won us over. They really did. They did an incredible set. There's no question about it. It was incredible. And then Jimmy came on, and I took those pictures, and you know, that's my story in a nutshell.
Lenny, yes. Well, I'm Gary Summers, and I wasn't there. I had my Woodstock moments. I was in the Midwest at the time, and I have to say that, like a lot of people in America, our Woodstock moment came when the movie came out. And we were able to go and feel like we were there because the movie encapsulated everything that was happening there, and you could feel like you actually walked around there and everything else. My Woodstock moment, I have to say, would be Watkins Glen, which was bigger, and there was only 3 bands, so no offense, you guys. But anyway, what I turned into, though, was a merchant of rock and roll memorabilia. I produced over 1,000 concerts, worked with some of the greatest bands in the world, so my job turned out to be buying and selling memorabilia from Woodstock, which is like a newspaper from the local town, Middletown, New York, where, you know, right during the thing here, this is a second printing of the concert poster, the original poster, and I could tell the difference between a first and a second. There's lots of things that came out. This was from the movie. This was from Rolling Stone magazine. This was from Life magazine. So many people capitalized on Woodstock. There was just so much merchandise manufactured after the fact that the articles from the actual event, things that these guys probably have stashed away, are worth a lot of money right now because there's so few and far between that aren't wet. So I'm here to kind of help you if you have questions about your stuff. Oh, I have a good ticket for sale. Good seat. Unused, yeah. There you go. This is just for...